If the senses are spacious, like an animal, and sensing everything, except the cortex is active, unlike an animal. Then you have drive. That's different than motivation, purpose, intention. Drive is what you need. The rest of it's data, bunch of data coming up, making you be who you are and how you live. You want to get to zero, get beyond the data that's playing so that you can rewire yourself. The only people that survive are those that self-reinvent. Unless you get quiet and become a conduit of life rather than subject-object strategist, you can't rewire anything because you're caught in the field of psychic magnetism.
Okay. So what if I just had a realization that what I used to do used to like naturally keep me engaged, but I had no idea. So it was all the things like the serotonin, the dopamine, the oxytocin, all that. And now that isn't the same, I'm realizing, okay, well, where does the drive part come in?
If you want to be a hero, you have to be a zero. Look, it's so cold in here, you can see the breath. Ooh, excuse me. See it? I can see it.
Cold? I can't see it. How cold is it?
Like 35, 45 in here or something. The idea is that the perfect example, addict, you're an addict. You can't help yourself. All you do is strategize and try to take over the universe and be the teacher. No matter who comes into your life or what teaching comes into your life, you only have one objective: overcome it and dismiss it. And that is a failed proposition. You can't do that when you start to learn from real sources of wisdom. Every human being is this. You are this. So if you surrender to life more and become a conduit, then all of the impressions that are creating data responses. So you have these beliefs, you have this data, you have these subconscious understandings, and whatever's going on in your life, you just respond to it like a robot. Mm-hmm. To be free means that you have another chance to remove the mortgage on your soul today by not trying to be the teacher, by not being a knower, by not being a leader, by being a follower and a student.
But what my question is, I guess, is related to how I feel, in the sense of I don't really know how to explain this. So I can be the student, I can be the like do the things, and sometimes it feels like just
you're incapable of that. You don't have that possibility. You're incompetent.
Okay.
Until you start to understand these foundational realities of the human psyche, there is no being a student. It's only a subject-object strategy to verify that you're the teacher.
Could I be a servant even if wasn't a
I
student?
hope so. That's what I want to be. Yeah, be a student. I mean, be a servant. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you could be a student if you're lucky. But yeah, that's beautiful. I'm really happy you said that, because that's the essence of it. You see, if you respect the rain and the sun and maybe a super genius or something, you can't understand anything about them, but you could bring them a cup of coffee or something. You know, and that's really the crown of human achievement, is servanthood, because there's an ascending and descending order of intelligence in any matter. So because we're stuck on being the teacher and the knower and the special one, we don't have our place. We don't know our place. But if you get a little glimpse that the sun is bigger than you, or that a super genius or an enlightened person is more than you in your conscious experience of life, you could start by doing something, washing something. That's very true what you said. Mm-hmm. Then maybe you could get a clue and be like, okay, I will sacrifice that behavior for this behavior, because it comes down to habits and following directions, because we don't have the GPS for healing and enlightenment. But there is a GPS, and it's not us. So the whole new age and everything that everybody's telling you is that it's you and it's in you, and that's all bullshit. It's just a lie from the pit of hell, meaning that you can learn a little bit about transmissions, but you're not the top master in the world to do with transmissions. So you can only learn a little bit. So every subject is like that. Now, if you start to do the subject of the cosmos and the purpose of life and things like that, you're going to stay submitted at some point. Easy way, hard way, 10,000 years, rebirths, whatever, because you can't take over the universe. You can be a conduit of the universe. So the cortex only has the function of learning this way. The overflow is automatic. But what we do is we try to put everything in a pigeonhole. So servanthood is the crown of human achievement, and that's exactly what you need to learn to do. And me too. Just go to the Amici thing or the real live jujitsu master. Do you see all? And I don't know. I have a bunch of pictures of me with the 3 stripes and the jujitsu guy and all this stuff in the classroom and getting awarded. And you have to be the student to be the teacher. And if you're stuck on being the student, then you're stuck on, oh my gosh, I actually cannot follow directions very well at all. And you realize that about yourself. And now you're on the grinding edge of evolution because you're constantly working on your discomfort or your learning edges or where you don't understand. So you're not doing the I know thing. That doesn't exist for a master. For masters of life, they are constantly a beginner. When you're a beginner and you sign up for a new class, you're totally receptive and you totally follow directions. And every human being has the addiction of 5 minutes later, they're on their own. They go on their own. They know it. They know better. So if you start to associate with real masters, which exist, real enlightened people, which you could ask me about, what that means and what it is, you get more of a context of what darshan is, which is the vibe of a super person, like a star, but times 50. And you start getting around those kind of people in your life. Now you're pretty clear that you don't know shit. And the path for you to really know something or be enlightened or re-healed is so long, is so vast, you don't even have an idea of completion. It becomes non-existent. The idea of it's all within you, there's no problems, only opportunities, and the rest of the new age bullshit becomes completely a fantasy world because you're so focused on solutions for people's lives and your own that you realize that that's a big black pit vat that you can only put a couple drops of water into now and then. But if with this attitude, everything will become the opposite. You will be the master, you will be the knower, but we want to do the teaching. We don't want to do the product. We want to do the cake making, not the cake. We don't want to pretend that if you buy this detergent and you're going to get healed, because that doesn't exist. That's the way the whole world runs. Every movie you watch and every business, the whole thing is buy this and your whole life is going to go better. Whether it's selling Sony or selling a product or whatever. This is the solution. Just do it. And that's fantasy.
I don't really know what to ask about. One thing is some days I feel like I can be of service, right? And it's just I'm present, I'm kind, it's genuine, it's heartfelt.
Genuine, genuine.
What's that?
Genuine or genuine? Genuine.
Genuine.
I don't know. I like.
That's funny, and that's really funny. That's another story. But then other days I might be doing the same thing, and I feel like bitter, and that confuses me a little bit. And I'm like, I really don't like that. But that's the surrender and the sacrifice piece. But I don't know. I guess I don't know anything to comment on that.
To be of service is to be unreproachable, because when you are able to give someone with extraordinary intelligence and precision, then they leave you alone. So it gives you facilitation and verification when you're able to be of service. When you're not able to be of service, it's because there's a mutual disease dynamic functioning between you and the other person. And the mind and the eyes only want to look at the other person and say, oh my God, what is, you know? And that's what we do when we gather resentment, we catch a resentment. So if we're conscious that there's a mutual dynamic of learning between us, then there can't be resentment. It's impossible. There can't be bitterness.
Well,
so you have.
So what am I missing? I'm missing because I feel like it's me. It's my issue, but I don't. I'm like, what am I missing? Why is the resentment still there?
Well, if the resentment's still there, then you have an issue.
Yeah.
Personal issue. If you don't have a personal issue, then you're just mentally challenged. So if you have a personal issue that you're conscious of, and you're like, I don't understand here, I'm wrong here, I need education here, and you realize that when there's a resentment with the other person, that you're part of that dynamic. Anytime there's conflict, there's a dynamic. Doesn't matter how obviously wrong the other person is, and how, obviously trying to do the right thing you are. If you have a place in your body mind that has distortion or disease and is exposed, unless you breathe into it and take personal responsibility for the ambrosial attack that comes from the projecting minds of humankind, then you can't be cleaned. So it moves in cycles, day and night and so forth. You've got to surrender to the fact that this is my issue, this is my resentment, this is my distortion, this is my incompetence, and every negative word you can think of. And if you can't do that, then you can't be a champion, because champions have extreme self-analysis and criticism, but not to the degree of depression. You should know already that you're special and you're wonderful and you're connected to God. That shouldn't be a question in this class. If you know that, and that's clear, now you can get to work. You can realize, oh my God, I think this way, and I said this wrong thing, and I did this wrong behavior, and you can find it in your body. And you can find out how you're responsible for that. Then the other person, what they do, that's a whole nother dimension. They can do whatever they want to do. Destroy you, create you, like you, hate you. That's not your domain to control their response. But it is your domain to be 100% responsible to where you feel it, point, spots, lines, psychological association in your physiology. Because in your biological biography is where you should be housed, not in your cortex. If you're housed in your cortex, then that's the worst. That's what we do. That's trying to be on top of the biology all the time, or be on top of the other person all the time. But the humility and grace of like a master of life have this extraordinary receptivity. And the receptivity is one-to-one with exposure, personal exposure.
So is it, I might have the answer to my question here, with the delusion to imagine that if I can tap into awareness in a different way and put my attention and intention on doing things that tap into the happy hormones, like the dopamine and the serotonin and the oxytocin, that will just dissolve on its own. Like, part of me thinks that's possible.
No, it's absolutely delusion, because you're speaking about a completed state. You can do that in some measure,
yeah,
but you can't do that to where you're not going to get thumped on your head again and realize bad hormones, bad problems, bad confusion. If you look out at the world, there's a lot of suffering going on. You're a participant in that suffering. It's not going to be done. So you can't have completion delusion, like I spoke of in the beginning, buy this product and it'll be done. You can be interested in the process of getting it done. Oh, yeah. But what does that require? That has nothing to do with hormones. Hormones are the product. They have nothing to do with anything. Your experience of life in this moment is what produces different hormones, not the hormones. Yeah. Hormones are way down the line of reality. So you don't need to be interested in hormones. You need to be interested in how can I be transparent and honest right now and be connected to two things, Darshaning and naturalizing. Darshaning means the vibe of a parent, somebody who's got you covered and is going to help facilitate your evolution. Figure that who that is. There's a lot of sources of it, wise people. And then naturalizing. That means when your mind gets touched by something wonderful, your field unbounds and you start to soak your bones. Nature comes to you, the support of nature. It's only the intellect that's keeping the environment out, but that environment is your savior, really. But it requires a master with surgical skill to calm the mind so that you drop into the body and that you're not trying to understand anymore. Thoughts are merely symbols of feelings. Emotional reality is one of the biggest indicators of why Sony will hire a CEO or people will be the leader of a sports team or anything. It's emotional resilience and hygiene. So emotions cause thoughts, not the other way around. Thoughts do not primarily cause emotions. Emotions cause thoughts. Emotions are a raw experience of sensing, and then our non-cognitive interpretation of what's going on in our body and our environment. Then we spur thoughts. And then, of course, it becomes a loop. But psychology has it opposite, saying that thoughts control emotions. That's absolutely not true. So when you get into this internal biological biography and you're transparent and so forth, now you have the ability to change hormones. You want to change hormones, okay, well, the raw nectar is going to come from where you're just flat wrong. And that's an advanced teaching. I was refining my book this morning and I took out some of those harsh statements because I know people can't hear that. That's not my problem, but if I'm doing an introduction or something, maybe I can't say it because it's just going to produce negative response. But remember the greatest coach to Michael Jordan and all these super giants, he was asked what makes a champion, and he said they all crave criticism. Right? So this is not a negative thing. This is how you can overcome your bullshit and get on with life. So you've got to have a particular point in your body, mind, that is just diseased or wrong or something. If you don't have that, then you're just denial. If you have that, now you can really run with life. You can move and shape with life because everything's healing it. If you're trying to put something on top of it to get beyond it, that's impossible. No human being can do that. So the completion delusion, grasping all the time at this enlightened state, is the cause of ignorance, cause of non-enlightenment, non-healing. You need to feel rawly your experience, no matter what anybody else says, think, because you're alone. And your destiny is the graveyard as far as the physical body. So if you don't get shit straight right now, you could die without the mystery of life. Don't do that. The contribution that you have to life is who you are and how you live. It's not what you understand. Understanding is not welcomed in the master's court. We don't do that. We don't do understanding because it's a defense mechanism. Understanding happens, but it's an overflow of energy, not a squeeze. All the universities, all the world, it teaches subject-object relationship with life. It doesn't work. As you grow older, you lose the mystery you had at childhood. It doesn't work. Human beings should not devolve as they grow older. They should evolve, meaning that your soft, mystical, in-love eyes behind the scenes of environment can navigate a way for you and yours. But to get back to that, you got to have step one, catharsis. You got to find out what's stopping you from feeling your body, your biological biography.
I guess, well, I'll just say it out loud. It's not gonna fix anything, but I guess what I'm just upset about is that when I'm feeling upset, imagining that people might get it, and it's not necessary, right? It's just necessary for me to accept that I'm upset, and it's it's a natural part of life, and that's just it, be with the discomfort. So then when I'm ready to not be complete, but just be like complete with that chapter, I'm like, come on already. I just want that one to be just ready. Okay, I know that it's not forever going to change, but I'm ready to let go of that one already. Like, what? I just have to.
Shooting an arrow happens because of drawing a bow and targeting. If you're overly concerned with shooting an arrow, meaning outward, making somebody else understand, then there's no end to your suffering.
Mhm.
If you back off of life and you say, hey, you know what, maybe I better draw the bow a little stronger, and maybe I better target a little better. So it's not that you're not supposed to shoot arrows, it's that shooting arrows happens all by itself. It's the drawing of the bow and targeting you have to worry about, not the shooting of the arrow. Everybody's so frenetic that they shoot the arrow all the time, in their sleep, in their day. There's this ceaseless thought. There's no calm comprehension of reality that says, oh, I want him to understand something, and nothing I'm doing is working. I better start over again like a newborn baby and pay attention to what I'm experiencing. Forget about the outside. There's no such thing as the outside in that sense. Your experience of life is what you are experiencing. And unless you're receptive to the other person, they'll never accept you. If you have the exact right point at the exact right moment in the exact right form, yeah, they're going to take that piece of chocolate. But that's after 1,000 years of figuring it out. So you don't try to figure something out. Geniuses don't think. Thinking happens. You become well rested. You take care of yourself. You sweep the floor. You wipe your behind. You do certain things. And you forget the outer thing as the solution to your life because it doesn't exist, even though everybody plays that game. That's not a game you have to play. So you can just find yourself with certain measurable results, brain waves, heart rate, pulse, breathing pattern, hormones. What are you going to do today to totally reset and refresh your experience of life? That's the only question you should have. The outer action and intelligence is not important. That's not, it's interrupting you. If you constantly cannot accept the instruction that I'm giving you to forget everything and find out what's going to make you feel better today, then you're not going to find the answer that you're attached to finding. You'll have to give up the shooting of the arrow. I got to find an arrow. I got to find an arrow. I got to shoot. I got to make them understand. I got to make them understand. You have to stop it before you get stopped. Break it down or get broke down. Don't wait until you have to go into the corner and heave and cry sobbing with no hope in life. Break it down right now and stop those bipolar cycles of attraction and repulsion with life. Be convinced that the experience of life is within yourself and you don't have anybody in that. There is no one in that. There's little meetings and joinings, but you're alone in that. Came into the world alone, going out of the world alone. If you can do that right now, then you're going to have the right word at the right time and the right preparation. That's going to be way more happening in your life.
Can you tell me more about the Darshan, please?
Sure. Thanks for the question. Great question coming in from Jules in Canada. Darshan. Darshan is your only hope. Human being wants to understand life. Who understands life? Come on, everybody, get real. Sages understand life, right or wrong? There's no such thing as a sage. There's an ascending and descending order of intelligence in any subject, right? Transmissions, cars, degrees, anything. Some people know more than other people to do with a subject. So try to accept that. And if you accept that, then you're going to come to sages. You're going to come to the Platos and the Socrates and the whoever, and it'll be interesting. Doesn't make you weird or dissociative, makes you precise and powerful in life. The only reason that it makes people weird and dissociative is because historically people have run away to spiritual teachings as a way to avoid life. But that's not real spiritual teachings, and real spiritual teachers don't promote that. I don't promote that. I don't promote this new age bullshit that everybody does. Oh, everything is wonderful. No way. I will smack your butt. Because you have to a responsibility to be healthy, to be happy, to do well as best as you can. And that's a very gritty thing. So if you really do Plato or a Jesus or somebody, you are going to actually become a better human being. So we can't learn about a transmission by ourselves. If you go and take out the transmission and start to do it, it might take you a year or I don't know how long. Or a computer. How are you going to build a computer or a space shuttle? You can't do that. You don't have the ability to go into a forest and build a space shuttle or some ship and go to Mars. You cannot do that. You are limited. It is impossible. But yet that's what's happened by building on the knowledge of other people. Darshan begins with the quotes that are acceptable or you like. Begins with the beliefs you like, Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. I know you like Buddha. Different things. Over time, it becomes a mosaic. Something from the Tao and something from Jesus and some whatever. If you can't stand Jesus and Buddha and that makes no sense to you, then okay. How about Emerson or Socrates or Plato? If there's nobody that speaks wisdom in your life, then you're just egomaniac that's headed for trouble. Because that means you don't know your place. You don't know that if you want to build a space shuttle or participate in building a space shuttle, you are dependent on the wisdom of other people. So we're dependent on the rain and the sun and the moon. The New Age world and teaching as it exists in the entire world says you're independent and you don't owe anything to anybody and you're not subject to any teaching and you have it all within yourself. It's all bullshit. If you find the master within, you realize, oh, there's stars there. What's that? Oh, Plato, Socrates. Oh, And you begin to let life in to educate you rather than being a demon and try to overcome the universe, which ends horribly for us all. So you become more receptive. Darshan means you have made your way to enter the court of a real live enlightened person. Could be historically, but there's living ones. And maybe the Dalai Lama reflects that to you a little bit. People are so egoed out. The Dalai Lama is at best just a kind person, nothing special. People's minds, our minds, have no context to understand what a wise person is. Therefore, we don't relate with them. And what I'm saying to you is that darshan, the vibe of an enlightened person, is your only hope. Because only if you get in that atmosphere and let it in, can something break. In terms of like a blockage in a water pipe above your head or something. And now the water just all of a sudden goes through and you get intervention. But until you recognize that meeting the greatest person, like hanging out with Pema Chodron for a day, might change your whole life. You don't know. So what person and set of people for you as an individual are worthy of your attention so that you can finally get that thing open again. And every day it has to happen because every day you're in total denial. So every day you have to start over and say, oh my God, I forgot about Pema Chodron. Oh my God, I forgot about somebody, a Plato book, Socrates, Emerson. There's sources. If you have no drive, that means that you're not aware of your need for help. If you're aware of your personal distortions and your personal hidden resentments and bitterness and rage and all this stuff, if you're aware of your distases, now you're going to be driven to find the light. But you have to get over that first step of denial, which I've given you some tools to do. You know, remember an unrequited love, unmet need, something you wanted that you didn't get. I don't know. There's lots of lists, you know, something in the body. And this is what I'm for. This is what education is for, to help you go, like they say in physics, Occam's razor, to very, very precise about finding that point in yourself that's blocking you off from the flow of grace. Because once it opens, once you find that in step one, which is catharsis, and it cleans out, now you're like, oh my God, not only is everybody like has something worthy and is teaching me, but also there are these people that have extraordinary wisdom and power beyond my understanding. And now you get into that vibe and you try to find your way to it. And now you go non-cognitive because a baby on a breast doesn't really not thinking about much. And that's what you are in relationship to water and rain and sun and moon and stars. And there's people that embody those things. There are people that have so much enlightenment, so much wisdom, both historically and currently, that it's a dependency. It's a real dependency and humility and submission. That's like a big journey for me to try to figure that out or to experience it. And I think that's my problem. Why can't I just realize that this wisdom is so amazing? Maybe one of the books like the Tao Te Ching. Why don't I just give myself to this wisdom and stop trying to figure it out? Or this Amici, who's hugged 50 million people and gave more money to the tsunami in India than any government or individual, and established free hospitals all over India. And I've seen her hug hundreds of thousands of people. I've seen her be up for 3 days and never have a drink of water, and never have a bite of food, and never go to the bathroom, and be so intelligent and so powerful that after 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours straight of hugging 70,000 people, maybe, she's more refreshed, more energetic, more present, responsive than any human being I ever met in my life. If you get around somebody like that, the evidence is overwhelming. So now you'll be a little humble, maybe. So this is the idea of darshan. And since we're so egoed out, it's very, very difficult for us to accept darshan. It really grinds on our whole existence.
Hey, I'll be right back.
Yes. I don't know. You guys know? We're going to do a little process, maybe figure it out. What you need is a custom designed, personalized routine that leads to advanced meditation. That's it. That's the great secret. Can you do that? Do you want that? Click the link and send me an email. Why do people do that? I predict that in 10 years, everybody's going to be going, why are we so dumb doing this all the time? They don't know the links at the bottom of the screen. William at williammartino.com. I've got a 1,000-person online workshop coming up. You want to participate? Send an email. The result is a custom designed program for you. That's what you want to have. You want to have a training program that addresses mind, body, and soul in one flow and leads to advanced meditation and energy healing. So what's your custom design program look like?
My custom design program? It's not designed yet.
Yes.
It's coming soon.
Good.
Well, I'm in the process still. So I'm in the process
Not designed yet.
of setting it up, right? So once it's set up, then I feel like there's a bit of an organic element, like I'll say it out loud. It depends on my audience. Not audience.
Custom design program for your training. What do you do in a long routine that makes up the elements of your routine as you've been learning here for the last year and a half or whatever it is?
Okay. Oh, that depends very much on the day as well. But some of the things that help me are sometimes it's music, it's singing or dancing is a big one for me. If it's outside in nature, that's like 1,000 bonus points. If it's inside, that's okay too. Then giving that time, there's emotions that whatever emotions need to come through will come through, and then I can come to a place to meditate for a longer period, like 40 or 60 minutes, in a place where I can feel like my mind is not just spinning all the time. It feels a little quieter, or I don't know, it's surrendered. It's not quiet, it's not the right word. It's in a state of surrender, or a process of surrender. Sometimes I do qigong. Yes.
Sunday's class.
Sunday's class. Yeah, I'm
Are you going to be there Sunday?
I'm not gonna be there. Oh, wait a minute. Is Sunday the 26th?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Day after.
That means I can come.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. That's amazing.
Bring 3 people.
3 people?
Yep, I'm
That's
getting. Let's go.
beautiful.
Okay, now write this down.
Okay.
Full spectrum intentional preparation. The theory of the class is one moment can change everything. People's destinies are changed in one moment.
So what I'm honoring is that, or what I'm practicing is appreciating that, but being unattached.
Well, we're not doing that here.
Okay.
What we're doing here, this is a classroom, and so it's a curriculum. So you don't have organic creation here. You have, here's your homework, this is what you do. That's it. So believe me, you will have moments that ripple if you follow the instructions. Okay, the instructions are very clear. First, you realize that the knowledge and the darshan is going to saturate more throughout your 7 steps. And you can ask questions on any of these. So you want to press play on something, or you want to put it in your mind, some kind of connection to darshan. Darshan and naturalizing. Knowledge, darshan, naturalizing. Naturalizing means that when darshan has had its effect and opened your mind, now nature's elements are going to come to you. So you can feel the lake, you can feel the animal, you can feel the sky, you can feel the stars. And over time, more of nature's support is going to come into your body. Okay, that's naturalizing. Darshan, we've talked about what darshan is. So when you begin your program, you're going to press play on darshan, you put the Amaji on or something, and then throughout your 7 steps, you can let it go and come back to it. But the knowledge, particular quotes, darshaning and naturalizing is going to saturate you more throughout the 7 steps.
Question.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the knowledge, sometimes it is processed. I don't know, like sometimes I receive the knowledge, or I can connect to the knowledge, and other times there's it's like a wash.
Right.
So I feel like, do I put a little bit of time into the knowledge anyway? Be like, just as part of the, what did you call it? This is part of the intentional preparation, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the knowledge here, but then it may be at the end a little more knowledge, or in the middle a little more knowledge as well, because then it's going to sink in a bit.
Knowledge, darshan, and naturalizing continues from beginning to end of the 7 steps. So you just go in and out of the knowledge, darshaning, naturalizing. So you have an intentional preparation to reach advanced meditation, and you're going to go through 7 steps to get to it. And while you're going through the 7 steps, well, really the 3 steps and then 3 steps of application. But while you're going through the first 3 steps, to get to advanced meditation, you might remember a quote. Now, write this down. The duty drumbeat. Military is a perfect example. Duty drumbeat. A curriculum at the library. Perfect example. You have to do A, B, C, D. You don't have a say in anything, basically. As an overriding structure, you have to do A, B, C, and D. If the car is going to run, you have to do A, B, C, and D. You have nothing to say. So that's what a student is, nothing to say. You're simply following directions. Now, look, if you find a curriculum, it doesn't have to be me. I'm just speaking. That's why I have fun with my program, because I'm out of it. If you don't want me on the list, that's fine. I'm talking about how it works. It's not my ideas. This is how it works. If you go to get a PhD, you have a curriculum. You have to fulfill the things. If you want the car to run, you have a curriculum. So with everything out here, there's a curriculum. What about facing yourself? There's no curriculum? Sages and saints say there's a curriculum, but it's the last thing. It's hard enough for people to follow a curriculum to do with anything, but to follow a curriculum to do with yourself is 50 times harder than any degree or any job. So you're really going to have a need for help. You're really going to have to know that you want to be happy, healthy, holy, wealthy, and you're not. Right now, you're not, in many ways. What ways? So you feel those ways, whatever an unmet need is. If you have no unmet need, then okay, you don't need any help. You don't need any money. You don't need any friends. You don't need any healing. You don't need anything. Just go to the list. You don't need anything. You got it all covered. And that's, of course, a lie. So if you have intimacy with someone, then your needs are exposed. And now you talk forever, and you have all this good timing, and there's chemistry between you and the other person. And that can be a dog, a cat, a friend, a lover, anybody. But unless that contact is made, and then that contact is made in relationship to curriculum for life, you're not going to evolve your genes. You're not going to evolve how you think and how you speak. You'll be the exact same personality and behavior set when you're 90 that you are now. So you have this need. That's in the step one. You know that the knowledge and the darshan and the naturalizing, you're going to experience more about these things, more facts like naturalizing. You got bear fur and oceans and mountains and rustling leaves, crackling fires, stars. You got a lot of different things that you can feel at the same time to empower your body mind, because that's where power comes from, the body mind. It's from this environment, this nature. And in this nature, there's a lot of different kinds of nourishments. There's the look of the lake at that time of the day. There's the feel of the lake water on your face. There's a lot of options. So you have an infinity to practice that. Same with the knowledge, same with the darshan. All right, step one, catharsis. Catharsis is the unmet need. Catharsis is the personal problem, the bad habit, the bad memory, the future fear. If you don't have those things, then you need to move on because you're not a student. Only a student needs to learn. Only a student needs help. I mean, that's a rare person. And it's not help for a goal. Like you said, I try to forget the goal. It's just, I need help. I'm confused. That's it. So unless you can get to that, you don't begin anything. But if you get to that, now you're on your way to being Master Girl for real. All right. So you go from that unmet need and you have different options, just like the knowledge and darshan and naturalizing. It's an infinity world of practice. So you've got future fears, memories, physical problems, mental issues, emotional issues, relational issues, financial issues. You got a whole lots of things. And the more that you get into them, the more you can receive love. You can't receive love when you're stuck in subject-object relationship. So if you find darshan, if you find a teacher, you find master, now you can really reveal and allow the light to come in to help. So it's intercession and substitution that's possible when you remove the covering to your mental obsession and you feel bodily what's going on that you have not resolved. That leads you to step two, centering. Centering is when you calm down with the issues at hand. With whatever's going on, you're just simply present with it. Nasal airflow, eyelid light. Nasal airflow, sphenoid bone, sense magnetism. Root of the nose, magnetite-bearing tissue, senses magnetism. What I'm giving you is enlightenment path and GPS. It's not my ideas. It's nearly perfect. Get used to it. So these physical realities of those bones, the sphenoid bones and the magnetite bearing tissue. That's why sensing the airflow is such a big deal and was Buddha's meditation technique. Because if you focused on an area of your body, you activate it. If I focus on my hand, I can change the temperature. I can change the magnetic signature. Depending on your mood determines what you're going to influence. Anyhow, by focusing on these things, you activate the tissue. Now you're absorbing magnetism. Same way an animal does, same way a bird navigates. Fact, 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 fact. Go over the fact 50 billion times. All right, now you're calming down, body heavier, going to sleep breath. Long inhale, quick exhale, body getting heavier with each exhale. Accessing the subconscious processing power of your mind. That's what happens on a long car drive, so forth, alpha waves. So you're following the directions to getting somewhere. You're not the GPS unit. Until you realize that, there can't be a curriculum. So these points about nasal airflow coming from the Buddha, different wise sources and science, you really can't have anything to say about those. You can accept them and say, oh, that's interesting. You have magnetite bearing tissue in your spine and brain. Largest clump of it is at the nasal root. The sphenoid bones sense magnetism, same way a pigeon navigates. You contemplate it, you become more aware of the sea of psychic magnetism, but you're calming down now, going towards alpha waves. That's step 2. Step 3, darshan. You make contact with something that's amazing. You've got my favorites list, you've got to cultivate it. That can lead you to the presence of super vibe, an Amici or somebody. And you let that vibe in, and now everything changes. And you're not going to remember it. But when it happens again today, you're going to be like, ah, and you get all the healing. And then you're going to forget in 2 minutes. So the only way that you can get back to it is non-cognitive press GPS button. If you got a complicated route with, let's say it's got 50 turns and all kinds of things going on, and you need to know the traffic and whatever, you can't do it. The GPS can do it. You press the button. So that's what a master is. A master is, you don't know about all the things about a transmission. A master of life knows all about it. They know every little bolt. So you start to become receptive to following along a path that allows you to connect to the net, like a computer separate from the net. It's not so versatile. Everybody, if you look at everybody, they're set on figuring it out themselves and overcoming reality and being separate and waiting for everybody to verify them as the special one. Doesn't exist. So as you enter darshan, you realize you actually are not the stars. You're not enlightened. Matter of fact, you have so many growing edges, it's just shaming, really, or silly. Every human being should have this experience. And that's what leads you to advanced meditation, because the combination of the exposed need, the combination of the sun and the water and the soil makes the sprout. And these are the elements of what's needed for advanced meditation. Advanced meditation in Zen, in Tibetan Buddhism, and yoga, samadhi, rapturous disappearance, soulgasm, brainwave coherence, hormonal nectar. So much good happens that you get outside the box like a beautiful scene in nature. Darshan. Each step you have to find out. And it's all based on you do not understand anything about any step, period. I sure don't. And I wrote a 700-page book about it. And I have no clue. Zero. Why? Because I can't listen. I can't follow directions. That's why. So I like to remember that and give myself the hope of listening and following directions, to renew my hope in that, because I realize that it's not possible that I'm going to be enlightened, or I'm going to heal all of my issues, or I give up. My body's going to age and die. Destiny's a graveyard. I'm not immortal that I know of, at least in this body. And so what am I in the universe? I want to be a student. Shoshin in Zen, they call it. So as you become more aware of your unmet needs, unmet issues, that can then reach out to darshan, to God, to faith, to hope, these things. And the two together make a battery, positive and negative. And then you get charged up. And you can reach the bones to soak the bones at that point. and go into step 3, darshan. I think I call it getting connected for everyday people, but darshan really. And you start to have these moments of transcendence. Anybody can point at me or point at anybody else and say, why should I listen to him or her? Look at him. Look at her. She got a silly hat on. So people don't listen to anybody, because anybody can dice up anybody with a pointing finger, and a pointing finger can't be wrong. So therefore, there's no masters. Therefore, there's, you go into a tennis court and you learn about tennis from the master tennis player. And 20 minutes later, you're like, okay, I got it. Let me just practice a while. And the master goes, I thought you were going to be like this for 10 years. But no, person's capacity to be a student is like this. My capacity is like this. If you could,
Well, I'm smiling because I was remembering what do you call it, the bouncing around, because I'm like, well, I'm a student, but I'm like, oh, I want to be a student of this, oh, I want to be a student of that. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's a good point. So bouncing, lengthening, bending. Bouncing means you've got one studenthood in life, how to heal yourself. That's all. That's the main thing. How to change your brain waves, how to influence your hormones, how to change the other person's brain waves, how to influence the other person's hormones, how to change your pulse, blood pressure, breathing pattern, behaviors, how you feel. That's all. That's the course of life, because your contribution to the genetic code of humanity is who you are and how you live. It's not some extraneous skill. So you realize that you're aging. If you realize you're aging and your destiny is the graveyard, I think you better work on your inner world. Unless your destiny is not the graveyard, I mean, let me know, and you might have something to teach me. I will certainly sign up. But if that's true, if your destiny is dead as a physical body, if that's in fact true, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that is in fact true, my guess is that the inner world is more important than the outer world. And my statement to you that if you prioritize the inner world, your outer world is going to be better too, including your health and longevity. So to prioritize the inner world means there's one curriculum, one subject matter. And basically, like Dogen Zenji said, to know the self is to study the self is to forget the self, to forget the self is to be enlightened by the 10,000 teachers. So as far as you're concerned, you're the only one that's the student. Everybody else knows everything because they're all outgoing minds. You want to be an ingoing mind primarily, learning how to draw the bow and target. You want to have a influence of your boyfriend to say something and get some message through. Spend the next 2 days drawing the bow and targeting. When a priority happens, such as a relational issue or a danger or something, you have to stop everything else and focus on that, because until that's resolved, everything else is going to be out of whack. So wherever the radar blip on your screen is, whether it's pay the electric bill or whatever the radar blip is, relationally, it's going to be more than anything, because everything comes from that. You've got to pay attention to that radar and interrupt yourself and spend all of your time to find out what's going on in you in relationship to that circumstance. So to be distracted by cookies just means you're looking for an external solution to a personal problem, like everybody does. If I take this course, if I take that class, if I learn this, if I just be a teacher and successful at teaching mindfulness, it's all a fantasy, because you're aging and dying and your destiny's death. So you're worrying and you're going to try to find some external thing that's going to change your life. It's all a fantasy. You're not going to change your life. You're going to grow old, have a disease, and fall over dead. That's what's going to happen. Now, in that reality, that's reality. That's not being negative. Actually, for me, it's wonderful. It's not a negative at all. And the only reason why I push it is because you guys don't get that part about life, because you're so distracted. So if you get that part about life, which all meditation masters say is an important part of enlightenment, then now you realize, gosh, life is important. I only have so much time around here. Why don't I be nice to her, nice to me, so forth.
So maybe, I don't know, what if for me it's more about peace in the present moment, and I don't think about dying or death, and I'm also okay with dying as far as I know. I don't know if I'm being dissociative or if that's true or what.
Yes, absolutely. You're being dissociative. On the surface, what you're saying, it looks very wonderful, and it is very wonderful because that's what our practice is. You're not worrying about anything, obviously. You're not worrying about death. You're being present moment. You're being kind, absolutely. But underneath that expression of enlightenment, which is very welcomed and wonderful by other people and in your own experience of life, but underneath that is a process. And it's always the same conversation you'll notice I have with everybody at every class. And they're all talking about, I don't need to change. I don't need to learn anything. I'm in the present moment. I'm peaceful. I'm here. There's no need for me to evolve. I don't have any big problems, unless you're not saying that. But you are saying.
Can I just share that? I was like, I don't think that all the time, at all. I don't.
Don't think what all the time?
I don't think that all. I don't know why I feel like I need to speak at the
You want
moment.
to cultivate your presence so that you have more peace of mind and that you have more resiliency. I mean, if you don't need more of that, I got it. I get it.
No,
That's fine. I accept that.
I do need more of that, but I want to focus on that and not on.
That's
not-
process.
That's process. Okay, yeah, I want to focus on the process.
This is training here.
Okay.
Training, you're learning how to be more present, more resilient, more kind. If you don't need to be more if you're doing the voice of the world and the teaching that exists generally when you have surface teaching of, being present, being kind, that's enough. I get it. In one sense, it is enough, but I want to understand what needs to be healed in you, because then that's going to all be more augmented and you won't have those times of blowout where you can't be present, where you're not balanced, where things are out of control, where you're depressed. So you want to become enlightened for sure. I do. Healed. You want to be totally present, totally magical, totally resilient, totally healthy. The completion state, enlightenment. I want that. You want that. But to get there, you have to undergo training. You can't just be in the static position all the time. This class is about training. It's not about the expression of the things that are working for you or that are healed in you. It's about finding where you need to learn, grow, and change. And that often is not part of people's teaching.
How can I hold myself more accountable to the daily, to the curriculum, please?
Yeah, well, you have a long full cycle that you should do in the morning to where you have 7 steps. Now, we did those 3 steps there. Let's review them again. First step is, what's unresolved in my relationship and my circumstances? What's a problem? And see how that's recurring for the last 30 years, and it's the same thing all the time. Not enough money, emotional blowouts with the person. What else? What else you got?
Oh, you want to hear it? You want to?
Yes. Don't forget the child thing. That's a good one.
What's
Child having a baby.
well? That's the now that is, I don't know. We'll just park that. What is not enough? Not being good enough. Not giving enough. Not being kind enough.
No, that's all product. Something that you're just wrong about.
Oh,
something
that I'm wrong about is that I don't know how to speak properly. I use words that sometimes come out as what I think sound good, but aren't exactly the truth. And I'm not even completely aware that I'm doing it sometimes.
Well, you're perfect with me. Okay, so that's something you're saying, hey, you know what? I don't speak properly sometimes. I know I don't listen properly sometimes. And so, different things. All right, good. So now what does that look like? I mean, for me, it's with Lena, very conversational, very communicative. I'm very silent. So, but that doesn't make me right in it, even though I want to make me right in it. It seems to be a man-woman thing a lot too, but she's very joyful, very, very communicative, very everything, and I'm always trying to be quiet. So men are from Mars, women are from Venus, said men that go into a cave and into silence to process things, and women talk about things to process things. That's what he said. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense for man, woman, genders, but I know for me that it is very uncomfortable and very driven by the correct action, which is to listen better, to just stop and do my best to listen more, to listen better. And I do this much of what I feel I have to do because I can't last this long, and I have to last this long because that's what she needs to that's how she communicates from my point of view, you know. And so I'm always trying to be quiet, and she's always trying to be active, it seems. So I find it my personal issue. I don't find that she's wrong in that. I find that I don't have the compassion and the empathy and the maturity to do what I'm supposed to do there. So I'm wrong. All right, I admit it. There, that's a step. Now I can start to go into meditation with that wrong present and have my ears carved out a little bit and start to recognize that I have another opportunity coming up here to listen better. So this is what it means to be in process. It means that you're always going to have a personal issue or where you're just flat wrong and every negative word you can think of. You've got to start understanding words like being ignorant, being incompetent, being diseased, being, just name a bad word, name a negative judgment. You need to get that stuff going more because without that, you can't evolve. You can't evolve unless you are actually wrong in a behavior. If you're not wrong through your own conscious will because of genetics and family and who you are and whatever apparent reasons, if you're just not flat ignorant and wrong, you're not accountable to change anything. It's always some other set of reasons that makes it, you know, the other person and just the way life is and stuff like that. No, you're responsible. And to do that, you need to make the scribbles map like I instructed you to do. And remember, the last thing anybody does is follow instruction. But you keep getting the opportunity to do that. And it's very powerful. Scribbles map, and you scribble where in your body you're wrong or diseased, where you're not a student, where you don't trust one person to teach you anything, and so forth and so forth. Now, I have my wrongs, you have your wrong. Okay, great. There's a third purpose. The only successful relationship between two people is a third purpose. We're going to get healed together. We're going to be enlightened together. You're not the driver. I'm not the driver. The driver is the curriculum. Where does the curriculum comes from? Ultimately, from wise people. So now your mind and my mind is not subject to each other so much. It's subject to a curriculum, a third purpose, God, nature, life. If you want a successful relationship with your boyfriend there, with your love interest, that's what it has to become. If it doesn't become that, you do not have any relationship because it's just two talking heads all the time. You don't have the power to be the authority, neither do I, but a sage or a saint does. So that first step is really, really necessary. Now you have the opportunity to say, okay, I understand what he's saying. Now I'm going to do more of a full spectrum program every morning. What's a full spectrum program? Outside, inside, muscles, energy, emotion, thought, as many different levels as you can to help prepare you for the experience of advanced meditation. But remember, unless you do that first step of overcoming denial by being wrong, you got nothing. You're not going anywhere. You're not maturing or learning anything. If you do this thing called training, like if you were in a temple in the Himalayas or something like that, now when you go and be present at work and with your boyfriend and whatever, they're all going to dance for you because you have too much clarity, you have too much energy, you have too much insight, too much love, stuff like that. Ordinary human being won't keep up with you. So that'll make you take some pressure off of you with your terrible sins of not listening well enough and whatever else. It'll give you a little bit of grace, you know. And with that grace, you should try to put it back into this process of maturing again. So it's just a drum beat. Remember duty drum beat? You just follow the duty drum beat if you want to be a student. And that's the greatest thing you could do. You're learning some things about it full spectrum prep for advanced meditation. Advanced meditation is the greatest thing you could learn in life. Catharsis, centering, darshan, rooting, blooming, pre-processing. These are just non-cognitive, really, things. Like step one, catharsis, draw the stick person, feel in your body, breathe into it. Things you're worried about, bad memories, bad habits, failures, fears, future fears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very simple. You don't have much to do with any of it. Just list those things, like I said them, future fears, bad memories, incompetencies, things you do wrong is the ultimate of it. And find yourself to where you feel like you can surrender to grace. Because right now, the head won't surrender for nothing. It needs to get bashed. So don't wait to get bashed by the experience of life to be receptive. Bash yourself by finding a way to recognize what a real master is and go ahead and follow along with them. Now, these are principles that come from the real master. Then step two is the centering, longer, longer, longer. Now that you have the head has gone into the body, you can calm down and you can find. You see, the cortex is what stops receptivity. The cortex is set on being a scientist and analyzing the external world and keeping it out. So it's never your responsibility. But yet that's enlightenment when they touch there. In yoga, they wipe there to wipe away bad karma. A friend kisses there to stop crying and create receptivity and calming down. So it all starts in the forehead. In Tibet, they put the stupa there. So unless that forehead becomes receptive because it feels safe to receive, you can't find the core of the brain, you can't find the body. So the easiest way to do that is to have an unmet need that you want to resolve. That's the step one. Then you can maybe receive with the head, like every blessing would give you. So the cortex now gives entrance to the core of the brain, the subconscious, and you start to live third eye open. Subconscious processing power, and that fuels conscious mind. Now you have a whole brain, not just a cortex. And the brain is throughout the body. So once you get to darshan and you find transcendence and safety that all of life is teaching you, you are going to slow down to the degree of no breath and no thought. And this is how we have to do it. You'll find a way inside yourself to fall in love and become happy. Just 1 second of this creates a soulgasm of rapture. And it's embodied, it's not dissociative. So now you have rooting. That's step 4. Rooting means the soil of the earth, the magma, the moving tectonic plates, the gravity of accepting everything with the senses and the head and in and down so that it breaks ground right here where you are, grows an extensive root structure. You land on that spot. And all of the projections from boyfriend and world and life and everything, it all is tolerated to come in. But that causes agitation, like the agitator in the washing machine. But you keep on letting it in because otherwise you'll be separated from the power of life. So you're living exposed now with all the body-mind issues present on your face. But you're rooting down, you're gathering gravity. All animals, all people respects personal gravity. So you then can bloom. You can have the experience of opening up to knowing that the lake is there and the trail is there and the workers are there and the library is there and the boyfriend is there and the trees are there and the stars are there. Now you can have power out here. And as you participate in the power out here, you're able to have influence with other people. But only if your mind is connected with the trees and the stars while you're talking to somebody. If you forget about them and you only go there when you go on a walk or you go to the lake, that's not enlightenment, that's dissociation or running away to get help, which is fine, but it has to be integrated with this place, this moment, these people, this time, this building, this world, this universe, so that your bloom becomes magnetic. You have a superior frequency of magnetism, personal coherence, and amplitude of magnetism. Personal coherence is the luck factor in life, and coherence is more important than amplitude. But both of them function together so that when you go somewhere and come back from somewhere, your root's covered Before the boyfriend comes home or you meet with somebody, you already healed stuff. So the engagement's covered. And you do a little better at your listening, at your speaking, at your habits. You try again. And you got to remember that you're going to fail miserably ultimately because you're aging and dying, right? So you're never going to get through that step one in such a way that you solved it. You should be going to hell more and going to heaven more, because the problems of the human race are your problems. And if you're not aware of that, then you're not very humble. And then you just want to avoid it and go to being transcendent. But when rooting and blooming function together, you get super empowerment, coherence, amplitude. And that gives you the power to contact people in psychic space and pre-process stuff. Mutual disease dynamic, neutrality, mutual blessing dynamic. Those are the three things that are functioning in the dynamic world. Dynamic world is waves meets winds, creates the perfect configuration. If you can pre-experience the future, you can have an angle with it. But that requires going back to step one again. So you're going to have to go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 while you're in pre-processing so that you can have that union in wounds between people, and that mutual purpose union of we're going to make things better for each other. And neutrality, you do your thing, I do my thing. I don't know what you're doing, you know what I'm doing. That's a battery. Negative, neutral, positive. Put it all together, you got a unit of biomagnetism. That's the conduit of cosmic energy. So the last step, step 7, is the establishment, I call it. The establishment means the greater your sense of spaciousness and timelessness, the greater your processing speed. So forget all the steps, forget all the process, forget everything, and just be timeless and present, as you said at the beginning. Just be kind, just be patient, just be timeless, and go about sweeping the floor, doing what you have to do. So that's the process of investing all that you did in those steps and all that you gained into spaciousness and timelessness and no thought. Just forget it all. That's the 7 steps of healing. And you do it 50 billion times, you make some progress.
Okay, I'll be right back.
My Lord. Sure, I'm back. Oh, well. I guess step 7 is a lot of I know nothing too, you know. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try and do exercises and practice. You should, but then you should give it all up. You train for a fight, and then you forget everything you learned and just fight. You know what I mean? These are the cycles of life and education and curriculum. It's not much of a different way. This is how it works. So find your curriculum, make your curriculum. Write down the quotes and the beliefs that relate to you as an individual. Find out about biomagnetism, which is the truth of chi power. So many subjects relate to your evolution. It's important in life. Even if you want to make some external goal, relationship, money, you can do it. Okay, draw me a stick person.
I'm laughing anyway. Okay. I tend to have the same spots. So that's why I was trying to tune in to see if there was anything else that I was maybe not noticing.
Okay, let's see that.
Well, it's not very pretty. It's very simple, right? So it's just my back left shoulder. You can't really see that that's the back. My throat, and the back of my neck.
Okay. Now, just do this more in your life. Let's do this now and breathe into it. This kind of deep breathing is natural, much more powerful than forced breathing exercises, because you're breathing into the unresolved issue of accumulated tension in your head and neck. Medical definition called text neck. So you need a specific full spectrum program to address your individual problems. This is one thing you should do more of in your life. Look up, find the stars, find the sky, and look at them standing where your head is back. Little by little, the benefits are cumulative. Okay. Now put your right hand on your chest, left hand on your belly. And let me see your proper breathing. Remember, this came about because I was teaching trainers Olympic ski team, and I was teaching doctors and nurses, a room full of them, in a short period of time. One was a long class course, and another was a couple workshops. And in both these instances, they raised their hand and said, "Do you think you really need to teach us about breathing?" And I reflected for a moment. It was like a realization that I've been teaching this to high-level yogis and athletes and world-renowned this and that, and almost none of them know about it. And if they know about it, they can only do it when I ask them. They don't do it when I'm watching them breathe. So you need to change your breathing pattern in your ordinary life. And I invented this system to really give you biofeedback to help you train it. So inhale. No, wrong. The chest should go in and the belly should go out. That's how a baby breathes, or a cat or a dog. Watch, their belly moves like this, not their upper chest. The only reason we breathe with our upper chest is because of excess anxiety. If you need a lot of power, yeah, you want to breathe that way with the upper chest. But we shouldn't be living a life where that's become the pattern of our ordinary breathing, which in your case it has, and almost every single person. You should be pursuing internal rejuvenation more than you're pursuing external action. Then your external action will become more precise. Masters of life are not seen rushing about in a frenetic mess, yet they produce more results than anybody else. So you need to cultivate an internal world, the third eye open. That'll make your external life better too. But we need to worry about the internal life only, because the external life happens by itself. So that's better. Nice. Now it'll take you a few years for the chest actually to go in on the inhale, but that's fine. Now put the palms on the ribs. Inhale, ribs go out. No chest expansion. Chest expansion can be in the last quarter of the breath if you want, but I want you to practice breathing down. My ribs. I can use my mind to focus on any place I want. So that's good mind-body integration that you need to improve in, because the body is the ground wire of the brain. The body downloads and digests the energy and information of the brain. Okay, back of the hands and the lower back with the thumbs up. So your thumbs should be pressing on your kidneys. The kidneys, the adrenals, and the pancreas are called in Qigong the jade ring. Very important area. The top five killers, 4 or 5 today are heart disease, cancer, diabetes, coronavirus. Those diseases, those things kill more people than anything else. Now the jade ring is a very important power production place that influences the immune system. Of course, the adrenals are there, the kidneys there, the pancreas is there, regulates the surge of sugar release, So you could feel your kidneys moving out and in with your thumbs. I found 2 times now in lifetime of teaching where people have talked about how they heard of this before, but only 2 times. But that's all in the last year. I was astonished to hear 2 different people tell me that, oh yeah, this person taught me that. So the world's finally catching on to this, but it's very advanced. Because your lungs are back there too, aren't they? Now you'll find that it's your relationship with people that affects this. Sorry, what were you going to say? Forgive me for not listening well enough. Oh, all right. Do a scan and breathe. Look around the environment with your eyes. And then listen around the environment. Because if you're boundless, like you're alone in a scene in nature, your senses are very aware and crisp. But usually we're in mental obsession, so we're separate from the power of the environment. Now smell around. Okay, now we're going to go to step 2 more so, which is centering. So extend your airflow and sense it flowing in and out of your nose. You should have a sweet taste in the mouth. That should happen almost immediately when you start to meditate. That's a hormonal secretion from the glands, salivary glands, influenced by the pituitary. Instantly, the body should become heavy and it's like stuck to the earth, sucking the nourishment of the earth. Like deep sleep. Meditation is conscious sleeping. Emotional relief, emotional support, contentment, satiation, happiness, joy. Joy produces concentration, embodied joy, with whatever task you're doing. Ears in line with navel, nose in line, ears in line with shoulders, nose in line with navel. Pull your face back a little bit. Heavy body, more relaxation, conscious sleeping. Accepting every person, everywhere, everything that's in your life. Being the only one that doesn't know, being subject to that, all these people, all these bits of information. Become the concourse of the energies of life. They meet and mix in the spine. They combine, create a magnetic energy that goes into the brain, circulates around. Same in Tibetan Buddhism and yoga and Qigong and Zen everywhere. But you've got to be trusted with the energy of light before you can move magnetism. That's what real Qigong is and real pranayama is. All the world teaches all this external stuff, not the internal stuff that results in measurable change. Here, we're simply seeking to have some good hormonal balancing, some brainwave relaxing and extending, and some pulse relaxing and becoming more even and steady like a drum beat. Long, long, long. Got to forget your future. You got to forget yourself. You got to forget your life to go into meditation. That's for sure. Remember that environment, those relationships, those neighbors, that building, that community, and become completely surrendered to all of it. Now turn the videos off. And we're going to go towards Darshan. So Darshan will never make any sense unless you did the centering first. The centering is nasal airflow, eyelid light, body heavier. That's what naturally happens when you begin to relax. So we start to join the sleep state and the wake state over the years. And that gives us like genius powers because you have this dreamlike ability functioning at the same time that there's a lot of gamma waves. There's a lot of speed because the ocean responds fast or slow to the winds. It's automatic. And that's being an enlightened person. But first, you got to get through these specific steps. The specific steps are there for a reason. And what I'm really hoping and praying and healing and changing to do is to give you the understanding that your knowledge and your curriculum and science is going to give you a path. But you're going to have to codify it, make it specific. It's got to be these 5 quotes and this thing. You can't go from thing to thing all the time. You got to establish a full spectrum routine. These 3 quotes and this thing. You can revise it again in 2 months. That's fine. But for right now, today, what are you going to work with? If you work with a little energy and you go outside and come back in and you do a little exercise and so forth, so forth, so forth, it's all in the steps. You're going to be able to reach a moment that changes your life. And that's what's got to happen every day if you want to have the magic of life be trusted to you. So now we're going to go into the meditation. Mm-hmm. 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 Hmm. I've got hundreds of options, and just try to tune into the moment and find out what I could find out to make a magic moment happen. Remember that the first step and the second step will continue to function in the third step. The third step is sighs of relief leading to natural pauses. It's where so much nourishment wells up in you that you go beyond everything. Remember, you certainly have to forget your own life to be able to meditate. Try this one.
Chapter 33, Babaji, Yogi Christ of Modern India. The northern Himalayan crags near Badri Narayan are still blessed by the living presence of Babaji, Guru of Lahiri Mahashai. The secluded master has retained his physical form for centuries, perhaps for millenniums. The deathless Babaji is an avatara. This Sanskrit word means descent. Its roots are ava, down, and tree, to pass. In the Hindu scriptures, avatara signifies the descent of divinity into flesh. Babaji's spiritual state is beyond human comprehension, Sri Yukteswar explained to me. The dwarfed vision of man cannot pierce to his transcendental star. One attempts in vain even to picture the avatar's attainment. It is inconceivable. The Upanishads have minutely classified every stage of spiritual advancement. A siddha, perfected being, has progressed from the state of a jivan mukta, freed while living, to that of a paramukta, supremely free, full power over death. The latter has completely escaped from the Mayic thraldom and its reincarnational round. The paramukta therefore seldom returns to a physical body. If he does return, he is an avatar, a divinely appointed medium of supernal blessings on the world. An avatar is unsubject to the universal economy. His pure body, visible as a light image, is free from any debt to nature. The casual gaze may see nothing extraordinary in an avatar's form, but on occasion it casts no shadow, nor makes any footprint on the ground. These are outward symbolic proofs of an inward freedom from darkness and material bondage. Such a God-man alone knows the truth behind the relativities of life and death. Omar Khayyam, so grossly misunderstood, sang of this liberated man in the immortal scripture, the Rubaiyat. Ah, moon of my delight, who knowst no wane, the moon of heavens rising once again, how oft hereafter rising shall she look through this same garden after me in vain. The moon of delight, who knowst no wane, is God, eternal Polaris, anachronous never. The moon of heaven rising once again is the outward cosmos, fettered to the law of periodic recurrence. Through self-realization, the Persian seer had forever freed himself from compulsory returns to earth, the garden of nature or Maya. How oft hereafter rising shall she look after me in vain? What frustration of search by a wandering universe for an absolute omission. Christ expressed his freedom in another way. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus saith unto him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. Spacious with omnipresence, could Christ indeed be followed except in the overarching spirit? Krishna, Rama, Buddha, and Patanjali were among the ancient Indian avatars. A considerable poetic literature in Tamil has grown up around Agastya, a South Indian avatar. He worked many miracles during the centuries preceding and following the Christian era, and is credited with retaining his physical form even to this day. Babaji's mission in India has been to assist prophets in carrying out their special dispensations. He thus qualifies for the scriptural classification of Mahavatar, great avatar. He has stated that he gave yoga initiation to Shankara, reorganizer of the Swami order, and to Kabir, famous medieval master. The chief 19th century disciple was, as we know, Lahiri Mahashai, revivalist of the lost Kriya art. Babaji is ever in communion with Christ. Together they send out vibrations of redemption and have planned the spiritual technique of salvation for this age. The work of these two fully illumined masters, one with a body and one without a body, is to inspire the nations to forsake wars, race hatred, religious sectarianism, and the boomerang evils of materialism. Babaji is well aware of the trend of modern times, especially of the influence and complexities of Western civilization, and realizes the necessity of spreading the self-liberations of yoga equally in the West and the East. That there is no historical reference to Babaji need not surprise us. The great Guru has never openly appeared in any century. The misinterpreting glare of publicity has no place in his millennial plans. Like the Creator, the sole but silent power, Babaji works in a humble obscurity. Great prophets like Christ and Krishna come to earth for a specific and spectacular purpose. They depart as soon as it is accomplished. Other avatars, like Babaji, undertake work that is concerned more with the slow evolutionary progress of man during the centuries than with any one outstanding event of history. Such masters always veil themselves from the gross public gaze and have the power to become invisible at will. For these reasons, and because they generally instruct their disciples to maintain silence about them, a number of towering spiritual figures remain world unknown. I give in these pages on Babaji merely a hint of his life, only a few facts that he deems fitting and helpful to be publicly imparted. No limiting facts about Babaji's family or birthplace, dear to the analyst's heart, have ever been discovered. His speech is generally in Hindi, but he converses easily in any language. He has adopted the simple name of Babaji, revered father. Other titles of respect given him by the Lahiri Mahashai's disciples are Mahamuni Babaji, Maharaj, Supreme Ecstatic Master, Mahayogi, the Great Yogi, and Trambak Baba or Shiva Baba, titles of avatars of Shiva. Does it matter that we know not the patronymic of a fully released master? Whenever anyone utters with reverence the name of Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai said, that devotee attracts an instant spiritual blessing. The deathless Guru bears no mark of age on his body. He appears to be a youth of not more than 25, fair-skinned, of medium build and height. Babaji's beautiful, strong body radiates a perceptible glow. His eyes are dark, calm, and tender. His long, lustrous hair is copper-colored. Sometimes Babaji's face closely resembles that of Lahiri Mahashai. On occasion, the similarity was so striking that Lahiri Mahashai in his later years might have passed as the father of the youthful-looking Babaji. Swami Kabbalananda, my saintly Sanskrit tutor, spent some time with Babaji in the Himalayas. The purest master moves with his group from place to place in the mountains, Kabbalananda told me. His small band contains 2 highly advanced American disciples. After Babaji has been in one locality for some time, he says, Dera Danda Uthao, let us lift our camp and start. He carries a danda, bamboo staff. His words are the signal for moving with his group instantaneously to another place. He doesn't always employ this method of astral travel. Sometimes he goes on foot from peak to peak. Babaji can be seen or recognized by others only when he so desires. He is known to have appeared in many slightly different forms to various devotees, sometimes with beard and moustache, and sometimes without them. His undecayable body requires no food. The master, therefore, seldom eats. As a social courtesy to visiting disciples, he occasionally accepts fruits or rice cooked in milk and clarified butter. Two amazing incidents of Babaji's life are known to me, Kebalananda went on. His disciples were sitting one night around a huge fire that was blazing for a sacred Vedic ceremony. The Guru suddenly seized a burning brand and lightly struck the bare shoulder of a chela who was close to the fire. Sir, how cruel! Lahiri Mahashai, who was present, made this remonstrance. Would you rather have seen him burned to ashes before your eyes, according to the decree of his past karma? With these words, Babaji placed his healing hand on the chela's disfigured shoulder. I have freed you tonight from painful death. The karmic law has been satisfied through your slight suffering by fire. On another occasion, Babaji's sacred circle was disturbed by the arrival of a stranger. He had climbed with astonishing skill to the nearly inaccessible ledge near the Guru's camp. Sir, you must be the great Babaji. The man's face was lit with inexpressible reverence. For months, I have pursued a ceaseless search for you among these forbidding crags. I implore you to accept me as a disciple. When the great Guru made no response, the man pointed to the rock-lined chasm below the ledge. If you refuse me, I will jump from this mountain. Life has no further value if I cannot win your guidance to the divine. Jump then, Babaji said unemotionally. I cannot accept you in your present state of development. The man immediately hurled himself over the cliff. Babaji instructed the shocked disciples to fetch the stranger's body. After they had returned with the mangled form, the master placed his hand on the dead man. Lo, he opened his eyes and prostrated himself humbly before the omnipotent Guru. You are now ready for discipleship. Babaji beamed lovingly on his resurrected chela. You have courageously passed a difficult test. Death shall not touch you again. Now you are one of our immortal flock. Then he spoke his usual words of departure. Dera Danda Utao. The whole group vanished from the mountain. An avatar lives in the omnipresent spirit. For him, there is no distance inverse to the square. Only one reason, therefore, motivates Babaji in maintaining his physical form from century to century. The desire to furnish humanity with a concrete example of its own possibilities. While man never vouchsafed a glimpse of divinity in the flesh, he would remain oppressed by the heavy manic delusion that he cannot transcend his mortality. Jesus knew from the beginning the sequence of his life. He passed through each event not for himself, not from any karmic compulsion, but solely for the upliftment of reflective human beings. The four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, recorded the ineffable drama for the benefit of later generations. For Babaji also, there is no relativity of past, present, future. From the beginning, he has known all phases of his life. Accommodating himself to the limited understanding of men, he has played many acts of his divine life in the presence of one or more witnesses. Thus it came about that a disciple of Lahiri Mahashai was present when Babaji deemed the time to be ripe for him to proclaim the possibility of bodily immortality. He uttered this promise before Ram Gopal Muzumdar, that it might finally become known for the inspiration of other seeking hearts. The great ones speak their words and participate in the seemingly natural course of events solely for the good of man. Even as Christ said, Father, I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. During my visit at Ranbajpur with Ram Gopal, the sleepless saint, the omnipresent yogi who observed that I failed to bow before the Tarakeshwar shrine, he related the wondrous story of his first meeting with Babaji. I sometimes left my isolated cave to sit at the feet of Lahiri Mahashai in Banaras, Ram Gopal told me. One midnight, as I was silently meditating in a group of his disciples, the master made a surprising request. Ram Gopal, he said, go at once to the Dasasamed bathing ghat. I soon reached the secluded spot. The night was bright with moonlight and the glittering stars. After I had sat in patient silence for a while, my attention was drawn to a huge stone slab near my feet. It rose gradually, revealing an underground cave. As the stone became stationary, held up by some unknown means, the draped form of a young and surpassingly lovely woman emerged from the cave and levitated high in the air. Surrounded by a soft halo, she slowly descended in front of me and stood motionless, steeped in ecstasy. She finally stirred and spoke gently. I am Mataji, the sister of Babaji. I have asked him and also Lahiri Mahashai to come to my cave tonight to discuss a matter of great importance. A nebulous light was rapidly floating over the Ganges. The strange luminescence was reflected in the opaque waters. It approached nearer and nearer until, with a blinding flash, it appeared by the side of Mataji and condensed itself instantly into the human form of Lahiri Mahashai. He bowed humbly at the feet of the woman saint. Before I had recovered from my bewilderment, I was further wonderstruck to behold a circling mass of mystical light traveling in the sky. Descending swiftly, the flaming whirlpool neared our group and materialized itself into the body of a beautiful youth. I understood at once that he was Babaji. He looked like Lahiri Mahashai, though Babaji appeared much younger than his disciple and had long, bright hair. Lahiri Mahashai, Mataji, and I knelt at the great Guru's feet. An ethereal sensation of beatific glory thrilled every fiber of my being as I touched his divine flesh. Blessed Sister, Babaji said, I am intending to shed my form and plunge into the infinite current. I have already glimpsed your plan, beloved master. I wanted to discuss it with you tonight. Why should you leave your body? The glorious woman looked at him beseechingly. What is the difference if I were a visible or an invisible wave on the ocean of my spirit? Mataji replied with a quaint flash of wit, Deathless Guru, if it makes no difference, then please do not ever relinquish your form. Be it so, Babaji said solemnly. I shall never leave my physical body. It will always remain visible to at least a small number of people on this earth. The Lord has spoken his own wish through your lips. As I listened in awe to the conversation between these exalted beings, the great Guru turned to me with a benign gesture. Fear not, Ram Gopal, he said, you are blessed to be a witness at the scene of this immortal promise. As the sweet melody of Babaji's voice faded away, his form and that of Lahiri Mahashai slowly levitated and moved backward over the Ganges. An aureole of dazzling light surrounded their bodies as they vanished into the night sky. Mataji's form floated to the cave and descended. The stone slab came down and closed over the cave, as if moved by invisible hands. Infinitely inspired, I wended my way back to Lahiri Mahashai's place. As I bowed before him in the early dawn, my Guru smiled at me understandingly. I'm happy for you, Ram Gopal, he said. Your desire to meet Babaji and Mataji, which you have often expressed to me, has found at last a wondrous fulfillment. My fellow disciples informed me that Lahiri Mahashai had not moved from his dais since my departure at midnight. He gave a wonderful discourse on immortality after he had left for the Desasamet Ghat. One of the Chelas told me, "For the first time, I fully realized the truth in the scriptural verses which state that a man of self-realization can appear at different places in two or more bodies at the same time." Lahiri Mahashai later explained to me many metaphysical.
Now, the idea of step 1, 2, and 3 functioning together is what will cause sighs of relief and natural pauses. There should be moments of no thought, no breath, and then sighs of relief. The exact experience of breathtaking beauty in nature is advanced meditation when it's caused by darshan, some extraordinary wisdom or person.
Points concerning a hidden divine plan for this earth, Ram Gopal concluded. Babaji has been chosen by God to remain in his body for the duration of this particular world cycle. Ages will come and go. Still, the deathless master, beholding the drama of the centuries, shall be present on this stage terrestrial.
Now just listen to silence for a while, ground into your body. When you have breathtaking beauty in nature, there's no breath, no thought, and it's followed by sighs of relief. You have to find your body to find the earth. If you touch the earth, the power of the earth will come up. Meditation is not a static experience. It moves in cycles.
Asani के इस भौतिक युग में जब सब कुछ घर बैठे उपलब्ध है, बस एक प्रेम ही है जो सबसे दुर्लभ है।
Love
ऐसे में श्री माता
It's time for
अमृतानंद
Amrita
देवी,
Devi.
जिन्हें लोग प्यार से
People have
अम्मा
come
कहते
to
हैं,
address her as Amma.
सहज और निष्कलंक प्रेम की शीतल फुहार
There's unconditional love showered
बरसा रही है।
on an agonizing, agitated humankind.
रोते बिलखते लोग जब अम्मा के पास आते,
Initially, people started coming crying.
गोद में लेकर उनके आंसू पोंछती और
Mama used to
ढाढ़स
put them on her lap.
ऐसे में वो उन्हें अम्मा कहने लगे।
And people started calling her mother.
उन्हें अपने बच्चों के समान देखने लगे। अम्मा सभी में अपनी ही परछाई देखती हैं,
Mama sees one and all as her loving reflection.
अपना महसूस करती हैं। अक्सर पत्रकार अम्मा से पूछते हैं कि आप दर्शन क्यों देती हैं? अम्मा कहती हैं, नदी क्यों
I
बहती
just
है?
feel the vibe
नदी का स्वभाव है बहना। अम्मा का दर्शन
and
माधुरी
experience natural
स्पर्श
pauses, breathtaking beauty. Infinite love and compassion is Amma.
अम्मा के प्यार की
Amma's love has no
नहीं
limits.
है।
For
पिछले
the
30
past
साल
30 years,
से
Amma's been traveling the world. Very nice. The idea of intimacy and honoring and reverence happens with nature. It also happens with people. And to find Taoist priests and Indian gurus and
shamans and so forth that are real is quite an adventure to make happen. And once that's secured, and you know who that list of people is, a wonderful wind of refreshment, protection, and providence comes into our lives. Video's on. Ganapati Vanti Moria. Mangalamurti, Mangalamurti, Mangalamurti Moria. Mangalamurti Moria. So, questions, comments?
Just, I guess, thank you for thank you for many things, but thank you for reminding me that like all the steps are necessary daily, not, yeah.
Yeah. It's a wonderful chance to escape suffering. If you want to escape suffering, realize suffering.
Mhm.
Well, that's what Buddha said. Go through it, you know. Go through what you need to today by facing everybody, everything, surrendering everybody, everything, slowing down time, finding more space and time for each other. It's quite a great opportunity to do this again as soon as we get done the call. Much love.
Okay.
We will see you on Sunday.
Okay, thank
Bring
you.
two people. Bye.
Bye.